Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. McCarthy addresses Micah's diarrhea of the mouth. The Dallas Cowboys had just gotten drubbed 34-6 by the hated Philadelphia Eagles, causing them to fall to 3-6. Micah Parsons, who hadn't played in a month due to injury, performed well, but not well enough to keep his team from going 0-4 at home. All of that created plenty of reasons for Parsons to demonstrate some humility and control in the post-game locker room. Instead, when asked about the future of head coach Mike McCarthy, Parsons launched into a weird and unnecessary monologue about the sympathy he feels for veteran teammates on a losing team, then adding, "That's above my pay grade if Mike coaches again next year. Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. You want to win games and do great things with those types of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did." Parsons has since spent the day trying to untwist his silly words, accusing the media of misquoting and misunderstanding him, a valid claim, while failing to understand that he alone lit a fire inappropriately. The comments went viral and the national media pounced on them and on him, with his most powerful retort being an invitation to tune into his Monday night podcast so he could talk some more. To us, two responses have value here. The most powerful one comes from the person wronged, McCarthy. And to his credit, the coach called Parsons into a meeting here inside the Star on Monday to get some things straightened out. "Micah and I had a conversation this morning about it, and we handled those things as men should handle it," said the Cowboys head coach. That wasn't his intent, to throw McCarthy under the bus, but that's something he can talk on later this week. Skip Bayless' frustrated reaction to Cowboys' Week 10 heartbreak. The Dallas Cowboys' Week 10 loss to Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles has generated a lot of waves in the NFL recently. And while fans of the latter are rejoicing, those who follow the Dak Prescott-led team aren't, including sports analyst Skip Bayless. The Cowboys struggled throughout the matchup, particularly in the absence of starting quarterback Dak Prescott. Backup Cooper Rush managed only 45 passing yards on 13 completions, failing to generate any significant offensive momentum. His lack of production led to a disappointing performance, prompting the Cowboys to replace him with Trey Lance at the start of the fourth quarter. This victory propelled the Eagles to a 7-2 record, placing them firmly in first place in the NFC East. Meanwhile, the Cowboys fell to 3-6, enduring their fourth consecutive loss and remaining winless at home this season, a stark contrast to their playoff aspirations. Dallas's Week 10 loss has led fans to share their frustration over how their team has spiraled out of control in the NFL. Among those who reacted are Bayless, as seen in a video he shared on his official X account. The team's performance has raised concerns about their playoff viability, especially as they struggle against divisional rivals. This season's challenges evoke memories of previous low points in Cowboys history. However, there remains a glimmer of hope for next season, with potential for recovery and growth among young players. Why Cowboys Mike McCarthy must not finish season? One has to wonder what Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was thinking when he hired Mike McCarthy in January of 2020. Sure, on the surface, McCarthy was an experienced head coach and play caller who had a Super Bowl under his belt. He was head coach of the Green Bay Packers when they won Super Bowl 45, and he was also a part of 2 MVP seasons for quarterback Aaron Rodgers. On paper, bringing in a coach who won a Super Bowl while also helping produce an MVP quarterback is ideal. Jones likely saw a roster that featured a quarterback he felt could be an MVP in Dak Prescott and thought that McCarthy could replicate the success he had with the Packers. There was also the fact that in an era in which younger coaches like Sean McVay and Zach Taylor were becoming popular, McCarthy was a throwback to the old-school football coach of yore, being a Pittsburgh boy at heart. Perhaps that's what drew Jones to McCarthy. So, in theory, he made sense as head coach. Never mind the fact that he was fired by the Packers, a notoriously conservative and slow-moving organization, after Week 13 of the 2017 season. He didn't even get a chance to finish that season out after an uninspiring home loss to a bad Arizona Cardinals team. Never mind the fact that his record at that time was 4-7-1 and the season before that he was 7-9. Never mind the multiple times the Packers came up short in the playoffs, despite arguably having the most talented team not named the New England Patriots of the decade. Remember when the Packers went 15-1 in 2011? They were the best NFL team in recent memory at that time, and they didn't even win one game in the playoffs. That was the McCarthy experience post-Super Bowl 45, so when McCarthy was hired by Jones in 2020, the results ever since have been somewhat predictable. After starting 6-10 in year one, McCarthy put together 3 12-5 seasons in a row. The problem? In 2021, the Cowboys fell in the wild card round to the San Francisco 49ers in a game in which they lost 23-17 but had the ball with a chance to win on the final drive. Prescott spiked the ball to stop the clock after it had hit zeros, and the Cowboys never got a chance to try for the end zone. In 2022, the Cowboys lost in the divisional round to the 49ers, 19-12. Dallas once again had the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win it, but Prescott threw an 8-yard pass on 3rd and 10 from the Dallas 24 with no timeouts remaining. The Cowboys again didn't have a chance to go for the end zone. If there was any consolation for Dallas fans in 2023, it was that the game wasn't even close. The young and upstart Packers jumped on a much more talented Cowboys team early in the wild card game and won, 48-32 in Dallas. Green Bay was up 27-7 at halftime. In 3 playoffs in a row, McCarthy failed to help his team execute in the biggest moments. Now? Heading into the 2024 season despite knowing that his job was likely on the line, Dallas entered Week 9 against the Atlanta Falcons with a 3-4 record and a healthy-ish Prescott. Flash forward to Week 11 and Prescott is out for the season, and any magic that was left in Cooper Rush appears to be gone. Rush completed 13 of 23 passes against the Philadelphia Eagles for only 45 yards. Sure, he's a backup, but only 45 yards from an NFL quarterback is an absolute disaster class, and that goes straight on McCarthy, who at one point was considered an offensive mastermind. Those days have long come and gone, though, as the game was already getting away from McCarthy in his final seasons with Rodgers in Green Bay. There's absolutely no chance of an offensive turnaround for the rest of this Cowboys season with Rush or even Trey Lance, who threw an interception against the Eagles, under center. But even when Prescott was available, it's not as if he and McCarthy were doing anything special offensively. Prescott finishes 2024 with 1,978 yards and 11 touchdowns with 8 interceptions. Yes, he's regressed and hasn't lived up to the 4-year, $240 million contract Jones gave him before the season kicked off, but regression is a staple of McCarthy teams. It happened with a 4-time MVP and future Hall of Famer in Green Bay. Everyone not named Jerry Jones knew it would happen in Dallas as well. Yet, for some reason, he hired McCarthy. Now, Jones needs to fire McCarthy before this 2024 season ends. It's not going to change anything, and it's certainly not going to change the disappointment the fans feel. But Jones needs to at least prove that there's still some kind of standard in Dallas and hold this coaching staff and team accountable for not meeting that standard. Or, perhaps that standard no longer exists, but that would be a sad realization for the franchise once known to boast America's team. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Mike McCarthy? Leave your opinion in the comments.